Fellas, I may have been flummoxed. Today, we're going to, welcome to another episode of Let's Clean a Record. Today, we're going to ask ourselves, is there a record that can't be cleaned?
Is there such a thing?
It might just be. If you've been following us for some time, you may have seen this featured in previous episodes. One of my favorite records.
It's such a beautiful record.
It's stunning. Rubinstein's Beethoven sonatas. This is an RCA Victor pressing from 1963. And despite multiple attempts to remove every pop and click, I have not been entirely successful. And I wondered, could this be what Last Factory has talked about for decades now? Microfracturing. At a very tiny, tiny level are there little pieces of the vinyl itself that have extracted from the vinyl and remain adhered to the vinyl, or have they left the vinyl, leaving a wee little divot that we hear as the stylus goes through the groove? I'm not sure. And it's bothered me for some time, but as I said, I've never been able to clean that one. Well, recently I was in the mood for some very quiet, peaceful music, and I pulled this one out of the collection. This is from 1983, so 20 years after the Rubinstein record. Brian Eno, Apollo Atmospheres and Soundtracks. Really lovely, lovely piece of music. And lo and behold, despite this having been cleaned previously, I believe on the KLAudio machine, it's full of pops and ticks. In fact, we're going to give you a little sample here before we clean it once again so you can hear what we're talking about. In between the songs, tons of noise, yet it's already been cleaned. I wondered, is this another scenario of microfracturing, or does it just have dirt on it that I was not able to remove with a standard ultrasonic cycle? So we're going to put this one through the works, and I do mean the works. I've got planned a TurgiClean bath, sort of a pre-clean in a spin clean machine. We're then going to use an enzymatic soak, probably on the VPI. I would then put it through another ultrasonic cycle in the KLAudio, and we'll finish off with the Loricraft. That is a ridiculous amount of record cleaning, but I know, but that's how much I want to explore this concept. Is there a record that just can't be cleaned? Well, let's find out together. Let's get to it. Let's clean this record.
This could be flattened a bit.
Okay, for our first step in this process, we're going to give it a TurgiClean bath. We will put some distilled water into the spin clean machine, probably the most common record clean machine out there, and then pure water rinse in the Studebaker. If you're not familiar with the Studebaker, it's one I recommend for a budget process. It's about half the price of the spin clean and very, very similar plastic tubs. Both have wee little rollers that keep the record in place. Basically does a very similar job. We'll use, as I said, distilled water. We like to clean the brushes. Again, you can see the brushes, very similar, the pads, I should say, that fit into the slots within the tubs. So we'll go ahead and get this filled up, get it ready, and do our first step of a TurgiClean pre-soak. I'm going to take it right up to the line there. And you can sort of eyeball it. That was what, maybe a quarter or so of a gallon of water. And for that, you might 3 or 4 drops of the TurgiClean. It's pretty concentrated stuff. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That'll be enough. Give it a little swish around. TurgiClean bath, ready to go. Make sure your pads are clean. And they slide right down into this nice little handy slot. There we go. Done. If this is your first time watching, KLAudio Blaster in lieu of a carbon fiber brush. Carbon fiber brush will work as well. Let's go ahead and get this in the Spin Clean. Go ahead and give it a few rolls through so we cover the vinyl with the liquid, and you can go ahead and let it soak for a while. While we're doing that, let's get our Studebaker ready to go. Let's let that Turgiclean do its thing. Maybe one more revolution. And then into the Studebaker. Okay, we'll set this on the drying rack and then get set up for step 2, an enzymatic soak. We'll pull out the suction type machine, the VPI in our case. Okay, time for step 2 in our process, an enzymatic soak. We're going to utilize AIVS products. We'll start with the number 15 formula, which is half enzymatic and half record cleaning fluid. That'll leave a little of the surfactant on the record so that the second step in that process, the pure enzymatic, will spread evenly across the disc, the surface of the disc. And then, of course, we'll hit it with a pure water rinse, and that will finish the second stage of our process here. You'll note also that I've put an extra platter here. This rubberized platter will help keep things clean. You might consider doing that whether or not your record is wet. Our record is still wet, so you definitely want to do it in that case. All right, let's get going. By the way, when you use a mat like this, be careful when you're screwing down the clamp. You don't want to screw it down too hard, or you'll kind of push it down, you'll cup the record, and that is not something we want. Besides, it just has to be tight enough to keep it from slipping. Number 15. Very light touch here, fellas. Just barely move that brush around. You want to agitate lightly. separate wand and column for our enzymatic soak. And hopefully there will be enough of the surfactant from the number 15 formula still left on the surface to ensure that we get good even coverage. And we're going to let that soak for about 5 minutes. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. Let's take off the enzymatic formula. Last step, pure water rinse. Obviously, you want to do the same thing for side 2. For the sake of time, we'll skip over that for now. But once we have clean side 2, we're going to then move on to the KLAudio and then follow it up with the Loricraft. Then we'll see just how clean we can get this record. Okay, last stage of this ridiculously long cleaning process. Okay, let's do the water rinse next. Okay, now we'll do side 2. Okay, moment of truth. Okay, final thoughts and for the record. I hope you were able to hear the snippets of sound that we recorded before and after the cleaning process. What we heard, fortunately, was an improvement, so some debris must have found its way onto the record between the time I last cleaned it and when I pulled it out a few days ago to give it a listen. However, even after all that crazy cleaning, we still heard ticks and pops. Why? What is going on here? And by the way, this is very much akin to this treasured record that I have cleaned in every way I know how, including the full Kermes restoration process. Still, we have ticks and pops. So what are we dealing with here? Is this defective vinyl? One from the 60s, one from the 80s? Are we dealing with microfractures deep within the groove? Or perhaps I just don't know what I'm doing when it comes to cleaning records? Comment below and we'll see you at the next record.